Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm the Linux Geek, and today I'm going to show you how to set up SSH with Fail2Ban on Linux. SSH is a widely used program that allows administrators a secure way to access a computer over a network. It is one of the essential tools to master as an administrator. Even if you don't need SSH on your own computer, you'll still use it if you have a hosting plan for a website. So knowing SSH will come in handy if you're doing any kind of administrative role on a computer. SSH comes by default with all Unix, Linux, and Mac servers. Secure Shell was created to replace insecure terminal emulation or login programs such as Telnet, RLogin, and RSH. Not only is SSH a powerful tool for administrators, but also for hackers. Any computer that has a service exposed to the internet is susceptible to attacks. If that service requires authentication, people will try to break into your system by repeatedly trying to authenticate using different credentials. As a result, there are tools available to prevent unauthorized use of SSH. Fail2Ban was created to stop these attacks, and it will dynamically alter your firewall rules to ban addresses that have unsuccessfully tried to log in a certain amount of times. In order to use SSH, you will need to install SSH on the computer or server you want to log into, and also have it installed on the computer you will be logging in from. You will also need the IP of the computer you wish to log into. First, what we're going to do is set up a DHCP reservation on our router. So what you want to do is log into your router. Now, where you're going to find this on your particular router is going to be different. But I'll show you what happens anyway. So go into your LAN setup, and then you can do the DHCP reservation. Click on that, and mine brings up a list of all the devices that are connected to my router. So I know this is the computer that has the Linux on it. So I've already added that as a static IP. And same with the MacBook, which is the computer that I will be running from. So I just do that, save close, and then now when I can look at my connected devices on my router, and it will show that the MacBook has a DHCP reserved, and same with my Linux computer. So that's going to be good. That'll be good. So once that's done, you can just log out. Now on your computer, the Linux computer, if you haven't already set it up and you are running as root, you want to add a user, an administrator, because running as root is not a security, it's a security risk, and we're going to actually be disabling it for the SSH. So on my computer, I would just say sudo add user, and then whatever name you wanted to create. So now I can put it, it'll ask you for a password. Now you don't have to put in this information if you don't want to. You can just leave it blank. And there, now that's created the user. Now I have to add this to the sudo group. In other systems such as CentOS or Red Hat, it might be called the wheel group, but in Ubuntu it's called the sudo group. So you just there, now he's added. And if you notice, whenever I type in sudo, I'm not having to put my password in every time. And that's because I'm doing a lot of commands, and I just found it easier that you can you still have to use sudo, but you can disable having to put your password in every time. And I'll show you how to do that. So you just have to go into it's called vi sudo, and it comes up with this file. So you just type in sudo vi sudo, and then down here you would just say this is the command that will allow you to do all the commands. And then if you don't want to put in your password each time, you just say all, and that will allow you to use sudo with any command, and you don't have to put in your password. So you just have to, now we will exit, and there. Now, like I said, if you don't want to, if you should never run as root. So on the Ubuntu server, the root is actually disabled by default. So if I wanted to actually enable the root, I would say sudo passwd root, and now it'll ask me for a password, and you have to enter it again. And anyone that has sudo or administrative rights can change a password on any other users, so that's not a problem. Now, if you want to, I'm going to actually disable root again, and in order to do that, so it should be sudo password -l root. Now we'll just see if we can log in as root. See, now it's failing, so that means it's disabled. So now that the vi sudo is set up, what you want to do is say sudo apt get install open ssh server. And since mine's already installed, I don't have to worry about it. So it will install the system if it isn't done on your system. Sometimes it isn't installed, but you can always install it. So now you want to enable it. Sudo systemctl enable SSH. So now it's enabled, and then you would start it and say sudo systemctl start SSH. And if you want to see what the status is of the SSH, you could say status sshd, and this will tell you that the SSH service is active and it's running and that it's enabled. So that's what you want to look for. And once you've done that, you want to copy the config file over because we're going to be changing it. So sudo cp etc ssh sshd config, and then copy it over to ssh / sshd config, and then you can call it, say, that. So now you've copied it over, and we're going to just change some of the permissions on it here. There. Now, what you want to do is get onto the computer that you're going to be doing the SSH from. In that case, that's my MacBook that I'm going to be running from. So first thing that I'm going to do is SSH. We're going to create keys, and this is a more secure way of doing the logging into SSH instead of having to do your passwords. So SSH keygen -t RSA, and it'll ask you where to save the file, and now it will overwrite, because I've already done this, it will overwrite my my key that I already have in there. So, and you enter a passphrase and passphrase again, and it'll come up with your SSH key. Now you want to copy that over to the Linux machine or whatever the machine that you're going to be logging into. So SSH copy ID, and then your username, and then whatever the name of you can either use the host name if you've set it up, or you need to know whatever the IP, your local IP address is. And so because I've already set up a host name for it, I can use the host name, but otherwise you would have to put in your IP address right there. And that will copy it over. So now we'll try and now I can log in to into my system. Sometimes, now that you haven't really set this up yet, but I'll show you how, it will, when you first type in the SSH and your username at the host computer, it will ask you for your username. Your password. So if what we're going to do is we're going to just set it up where you can don't have to use your password to authenticate yourself getting into the system, but it'll just use the keys. So you want to change to etc ssh and then sshd config. Now I'm using VI. You can use any text editor that you like. It's just I'm comfortable with VI. So first line that you want to look for is actually here. It says permit root login. You want to change that to no, because it's just an extra bit of security, and you never want to log in as root. So that'll just save you a little, give you some extra security. Now you want to also change the max auth tries. You can change it to whatever you want, but I usually put it at 3. So that will, you can only try 3 times trying to put in your password. If you don't log in, then it won't let you log in. So now the next line that you want to look for is called pub key authentication. You want to change that to yes, because that will use that public key that you just created and saved to this computer, and it will allow you to um, just use that. Now, the other lines that you want to look at is the password authentication. You want to say no to that. Then it won't ask you for your password authentication. And there's another line called permit empty passwords, and change that to no. The other one that you want, another line that you want to change to is this client alive interval. And you want to change put in a value here and uncomment it, because what this is in seconds, and what this does is if there's no activity on your SSH terminal for the 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes, it will automatically log you off. So just in case you walk away and you forget to log off, it will automatically log you off. You can set it to whatever time you want. Just put it in seconds. And then also down here, this is another safety feature, is you want to add this line down at the end of the file. It's called protocol 2. It's just a more secure way of encrypting the information on the system, and it uses the protocol 2, which is the most secure right now. And then below that, you put in allow users, and then whatever username you want. And this will just allow these users to be able to log in. So now that when you've done that, just save it and quit. So when you've made the changes, sudo, you want to reload it. And anytime you make changes to programs, you'll have to reload it. Now, you will also want to be able to, once that's done, you have to add the rules to the firewall. And so in order to do that, you type in sudo ufw, which is the firewall, and allow SSH. And since I already have it in there, it's already running. So now, so you want to enable the sshd. SSH there. So, and then just like I say, you want to check the status of the SSH. Sorry, and that will tell you the status. Now, I just thought of this, is that adding it to your firewall, the SSH, you might have to do this before you log in to system. So when you first download it, and when I first did it, so just in case it complains, you might have to um, redo that and add it to the um, firewall for later. Now, what you're going to do now, in order to use Fail2Ban with it, we have to install Fail2Ban. Sorry, my sudo apt get install and apt get upgrade Fail2Ban. So I already have mine installed, so it not to worry, but you'll get it'll install it for you if you when you do it. So now you want to make sure that it's enabled. Enable Fail2Ban, and then you just want to make sure that it's started, and then you can just check its so this is the I've already got this set up. I just wanted to show you what it was, and so this shows you that I've already got it loaded and it's enabled. And now what we want to do is we need to copy over the file so that because we're going to do we're going to set it up so that it will block for the SSH. So we want to copy the jail.conf to the etc Fail2Ban and jail dot local. And once you do that, you can now use we're going to edit the jail.local file. So you use whatever editor you want, and so this is your jail.conf file, and this is what you're going to edit for banning IPs that are trying to log into your system. So we want to come down here, and we want to change this ban time to 2 days. And the other values that you want to change is the max retry, which is if they only get 3 attempts at changing or trying to log in, 3 failed attempts. You can change that to whatever you want. And this find time, what that is it has to do it with they have to do the failed attempts have to be within this time. So whatever you set it to, I'm going to set it to 5 minutes. So they have to do the 3 failed attempts within 5 minutes. And then we come down here, the jails, and here in the SSHD, you want to enable it. So you would type in enabled equals true. So that basically that's all we're going to do for right now. So what we will do is we will save this and exit. And now we want to restart the Fail2Ban. And that now we will, to see the status of any of the blocked IPs, it's sudo fail2ban client stat sshd, and this will show you the total that are these are currently banned right now, and these are the IP list. So this will grow as you continue, as you let this run. So now basically the last thing that we want to do is just make sure that our firewall is enabled. Once it'll tell you that the command may disrupt existing SSH connections, and if you want to proceed with this, but because we've already added the rules to the firewall, we don't have to worry about that. And now it'll say, so now it says firewall is active and enabled on system startup. So that's all we have to do for setting up Fail2Ban with SSH. Now that you have SSH and Fail2Ban installed, you can remotely administer your computer. Having a way to administer your computer remotely has many advantages. You no longer have to be in front of the computer to make changes. Since you don't need direct physical access to your computer, this is a good way to improve security. By limiting physical access to your computer, it also reduces others being able to access your computer and do certain attacks to get information or change your system. If you aren't using SSH, start now and get comfortable with it. You'll be glad you did. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit the like button. I'm going to be covering many more topics such as this. They will range from basic to advanced. And if I haven't covered something you would like to see, please message me and let me know.